I'm Natalie. I'm running my own business, In Parts Launchpad. I started 5 years ago working for myself and have enjoyed every moment. Looking back, I think I'm running a fairly sustainable company to be able to feed myself and entertain myself and still doing what I love and what I'm passionate about. We're sitting in my backyard in Surrey Hills. I work from home in my bedroom, so it's rather cramped, but we're outside in my leafy backyard enjoying the dulcet tones of police sirens living in a city. I'm very blessed to work with some of Australia's best independent artists, John Butler Trio, Mama Kin, Clare Bowditch. I've worked with Australian Independent Records. I've also worked for a few corporate clients on the side outside of music, and have also just started taking on some other clients that aren't necessarily in the music world, but I think still have a very independent ethos. I started running my own business, not necessarily by choice. I was working for an internet music startup and it fell through, unfortunately. And it was around Christmas time and I can't serve coffee. I'm a terrible waitress and I had no choice but to try and find some freelance work, and I was very lucky that some contacts that I'd already made through the startup threw me a lifeline, and I did my first website for Blue King Brown. And from there, the next client came, which was John Butler, and just the word of mouth rolled through, and I was able to build up a client base. And that first year was ridiculously hard. I wasn't making much money at all, and I was very lucky that I had a supportive partner at that stage who made a sacrifice and invested in me to help cover our living costs. And, you know, I was very blessed to be in that situation, but within 12 months I was able to start covering all my own costs as well. And now 5 years down the track, living independently, I'm able to live a comfortable life doing what I love, which is quite amazing. I usually find that my clients actually set goals for me. They will come to me with a project and they will actually give me the drive to get to the deadlines, and, you know, that's how I like to work with my clients. My background is collaborative work, so I think that's what I believe in what I do. Is a job of a web designer, and social media is something that's quite often seen as a distant role for an artist. And I think that's one of the things that I do differently to bigger firms, is that I work one-on-one, usually directly with an independent artist. So I'm working in a collaborative way. So in so many ways, the clients, they have actually helped shape my company, and they've also helped shape me as the arts worker that I am as well. It's not a service provider and somebody needing a service, but we're actually in the game together. Talking at the Big Hutters Business Conference was terrifying. I didn't know that people wanted to know things that I didn't know I knew, in that I didn't believe that I had knowledge that people needed to know. I guess working by yourself in a small room in front of a computer screen and doing what I do every day, I didn't realise that I've actually accumulated all this knowledge. And I guess I didn't believe in myself that people needed to know that information. And coming into that room and being so spun out by 200 people sitting in front of you with big eyes going, "Tell me something I don't know." It was amazing to actually have that moment of realising that over the last 5 years, I haven't just been sitting there punching out code. I've actually been learning valuable information that I can share with people. And it was a big eye-opener to me to realise that people tell me that what I do is important and that I do have knowledge, but I guess I've never believed them. And that moment for me was suddenly believing in what I do and putting a value on it and believing that it has value was a huge thing. Right. Some of the mistakes that I see people making on social media or communicating with their audience is that they are not engaging, but just telling people information instead of sharing a story with people, because we are all storytellers. And quite often we think what we have to do to promote ourselves is sell something, when really what the audience member really wants is to be told a story. That's something that people forget about when they're engaging online, is to actually share the journey with the audience member rather than just telling them that you've got something for sale and they should buy it. There is a moment for that, definitely, but it needs to be balanced out. And the same way you perform on stage and share with a crowd and engage them from the stage, you need to be thinking exactly the same way when you're interacting online. You know, would this get me booed off stage? You know, that's what I think people need to be thinking about when they're talking online. And that needs to be an authentic voice as well. It can't be a straight PR spin, because people will just switch off from that. I think artists can choose social platforms that work for them. If you're a visual thinker, then Instagram's probably for you. If you're a writer and you really enjoy telling stories, then blogging is going to be where your focus is. So obviously getting across as many networks as possible is important, but it's also important to focus on what your strengths are and really play to them, and not just go friend farming, as they used to call it on MySpace, of trying to get as many people, as many likes as possible, because it's quality, not quantity. If you're having a good conversation with someone, then that's going to be more valuable than screaming nothing at a full room, you know. Building a community online, again, is about people feeling like not feeling like they're part of the journey, that they are part of that journey. The people that are your biggest supporters, your early fans, and being able to identify those people and treat them differently. You know, it's such a simple way of thinking that you treat your best friends differently to the way you treat the guy in the coffee shop that you just say a quick hello to in the morning. You know, building a community online works exactly the same way of recognizing who your best mates are and treating them with love and respect. It's a bit touchy-feely, but it's true. And there are plenty of applications out there that help you recognize who those people are and being able to give them something back, whether that be a free download, a VIP show, first access to tickets, discounted prices for your latest product, whatever it may be, but showing those people that you recognise that they are investing in you and you want to treat them right. I wouldn't have the business that I have now 10 years ago. My role now as somebody who's a social media and online consultant for someone did not exist. And definitely in the music industry specifically, it was a role that was within a record label. And now, because of the independent push, not only in music but in business as well, I now have that as a job description. And people quite often say to me, "What is it that you do?" And I sometimes struggle to actually tell them, because it's so different across so many of my clients. You know, some people, I will just help them with their email list, or I will just help them with their website. These roles didn't exist 10 years ago. You had a web developer that you sent an email to and they set up a site and it sat there for 2 years and never got updated. Whereas now this platform exists that you need to be updating online every day pretty much, and you need to be existing online every day. And you don't need to understand it completely. There are people out there that can help. It might be your friend's 15-year-old son that knows his way around a blog, you know, and not to be afraid to ask those people for help. And they are accessible people because there's so many of them now, whereas before it was a really specialised field and it was expensive to have a web developer. People don't need to be online 24/7. There are ways around it. With Facebook, there's easy ways to program a post to go on certain days and certain times, so you could actually sit there and put in a month's worth of status updates and walk away and go have a picnic in the sun. You know, there are technologies there for you to be able to set things up and not be sitting there checking every 15 minutes. I think as definitely someone who's running a a small business who is by themselves every day, it's so easy to get caught up in your own thoughts and to start having anxiety about what you're doing. I'm not good enough. I'm not reaching my deadlines. I need to go find a full-time job so I can pay the rent this week because I haven't hit my quota this week, so I'm freaking out. And I've actually got people around me now, other friends who are running small businesses, that we go down to the pub and we sit down and we talk about the accountant they're using or how they got through their hard week, and finding other like-minded people that aren't necessarily doing the same business as you, but someone that you can share with. You know, finding like-minded people in your area that you can call and say, oh, I'm having such a bad day, or this campaign hasn't worked out, and them being able to share their problems with you as well, of almost like your own business sponsor. You know, quite often we feel like we're alone and we're on this journey on our own, when really there's probably someone in the house next door that's probably doing exactly the same thing, and it's just about reaching out and not being afraid to say, I'm struggling this week. It doesn't make your business bad. It doesn't make you a bad business person that you have a bad week or a bad month. You know, it happens, and it's okay to talk about it because you do feel better about it, and you probably won't take it out on your clients if you can just sit down with someone and say, I'm having a bad day. I feel an online community around me every day. That online world is something that constantly inspires me, and I just look, and I'm not afraid to get lost sometimes and lose an hour or so going on an online hunt. It's okay to have those moments, because the same way a creative person needs to go for a walk in the park or go for a swim, it's okay to have downtime. You know, working for yourself, you can get angry at yourself that you feel like you're wasting time. But those moments of you feeling like you're wasting time, you're actually clearing your mind to be able to do more work. I think comparing yourself to someone who gets a million hits on their YouTube video or a million fans on Twitter is going to make you disheartened. What you need to remember is that it's okay to build your fan base one by one. And each person that you interact with, you think about that new fan coming on board and saying, I'm going to treat you like a superstar because you've come on board and you could be with me for the next 20 years. And if you could get $100 off that person every year, think of it that way, of not trying to get 0.001 of a cent off 100,000 people in 1 year. You know, you want to be thinking about creating fans that want to go on the full journey with you and want to care about you. So that might be taking care of one person every month as they come on board, treating them as though they're going to be with you for the full journey. One thing that I would like people to know is that it's okay to deserve happiness, that it's okay to believe in yourself. That's been one of my biggest things over the last month. I was denying myself the opportunity to believe in myself. It's not being big-headed. To spoil yourself and go get a nice lunch for yourself or go buy a pretty dress, whatever it may be, it is not indulgence, it's taking care of yourself. And that's such an important thing. When you're working by yourself, you've got to give yourself those moments of, you've done a great job this week, and treat yourself, because it's not indulgence, it's taking care of yourself. I mean, the tall poppy thing is such a part of our culture. And to think that way, that I'm okay, I'm doing a good job, you think that people think you've got a big head. And you stop yourself from thinking that way. And it's okay to think that way. It will drive you. All of a sudden it will push you forward. If you're working by yourself, you need to be your biggest fan, you know. Absolutely. You gotta love yourself.